Sometimes it could be equally as challenging as it is fun to take a character and build them out that is completely against how they are typically played. Such as taking the Sorceress, whom can do incredible damage with the use of her native skills, and taking the Spellcaster and making them into a Zealot, whom would not teleport fast at all, but is equally as tanky as she is, with still dealing really high damage, and can farm everywhere in the game. That's where the main focus of today's video comes from. In today's video, I'm going to go over the build for the Passion Zealot Sorceress, whom goes against the grain for a traditional max Vita setup for even better survivability, all while able to deal incredible damage with nothing able to oppose her. I'm going to go over the attributes, the skill tree, the gear for my character and my mercenary, and afterwards I'm going to show you guys some gameplay so you could see this build in action. But do keep in mind that when it comes to this build, there are different ways you can be able to gear the character depending on your needs, whether you're trying to go for maximum DPS, you're trying to do a magifying character, or a hybrid of the two. Just keep in mind when it comes to looking at the gear choices that I'm going to be choosing, that you can choose alternative gear depending on the demand that you have for your build. Before we actually get into the build, the comment shout out for this video is going to be Crowns9966 from my YouTube Shorts video of the Budget Fire Druid build guide, who said that they only played the game once, but the build looks really cool. I'm sure if you decided to pick the game back up and give this build a try, that you would really like it. And I'm sure that there's many other fire builds that you would enjoy as well. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. For the attributes, this isn't going to be a max vitality setup, she is a max energy setup, as this will help her to be more tanky overall. So enough strength and dexterity to be able to equip the gear, and the remaining points go into energy. For the skill trees, starting with the cold spells, 1 point into frozen armor to help aid her survivability. Then, moving on to the lightning spells, static field has enough points to be able to affect nearly the entire screen. And in this case, with all the plus to skills gear, only 1 point was needed. Then I maxed telekinesis to synergize with the next skill to max, which is energy shield, as this skill will be used to help her tank the most damage. And lastly, maxing out lightning mastery for the lightning damage that she'll be doing from the auras on her gear. With the last skill tree being the fire spells, I maxed out warmth to be able to aid in her mana regeneration to help with her energy shield. And the last skill to max out is enchant to be able to help with her attack rating as well as to add some fire damage to the build. Any remaining points are going to go into fire mastery to help buff her fire skills. For the gear, do keep in mind that this is a hero edited character. All the items that you see here are not single self found on single player offline, nor do I play online to be able to have someone assist me with helping me get these items to then showcase in this video. I wanted to put this build together myself to be able to show if it would be worth the time and the resources needed to be able to make it effective, in case anyone would be curious to be able to build this out for themselves, and also just for the spectacle of the concept itself. The helm and shield are dual dreams, as paired together will have a level 30 Holy Shock aura. Additionally, they have the Confuse proc, faster hit recovery, boosted defense, vitality, mana based on character level, and all resistance. The reason I'm going for a tower shield with this build is when looking at the opportunity cost between using a shield such as a Monarch with almost 100 additional points into strength to be able to use it, the points that are being saved and rather put into energy instead for the attributes outweighs any downside of not using a Monarch, even for on Switch as you'll see later. And tower shields still have a good amount of chance to block, so the aided boost to survivability with less points to use, in this case, outweighs the benefits of a higher defense and strength requirement shield with a similar chance to block. The amulet is Mara's for the plus to skills, small attributes boost, and all resistance. The body armor is Twitch Throw, and it has been upped once as it still stays within the strength requirement for how much she needs to use. And it has been socketed with an increased attack speed, all resistance dual. The body armor as it is provides increased attack speed, faster hit recovery, increased chance for blocking, strength, dexterity, and all resistance. The weapon is a Passion Runeward and a Phase Blade. This gives her increased attack speed, enhanced damage, a lot of different help with her attack rating, Berserk and Zeal, but Zeal will be the main skill for attacking with this build. Hit blinds target, as well as the chance to cause monsters to flee. The boots are Water Walks for the faster run walk, dexterity, life, and an added boost to max fire resistance. The first ring is Ravenfrost for the attack rating, dexterity, mana, and cannot be frozen. The belt is Nosferatu's Coil for increased attack speed, life leech, slows target, strength, and mana after each kill, which does seem very low, but with fighting large groups, can add up quite fast to be able to help top off any mana use while warmth regenerates your mana. The second ring is a Stone of Jordan for the plus to skills, added mana and increasing the max mana by 25%, further aiding in her survivability. The gloves are Frostburns for the additional increase to maximum mana by 40%, for the same reason mentioned with the SOJ. On Switch, she's using a CTA and a Lidless Wall to help give her a large boost to her life and mana, as well as to boost the health of our Mercenary. As I said before, the benefit of allocating all the points that would be needed to use the Monarch for Spirit to get the +2 to all skills over a Lidless's +1 to all skills, even if using an Ethereal Monarch to reduce the strength cost, is shown with each level into energy gives 2 points to mana. And with saving 71 points and using a Tower Shield over an Ethereal Monarch, means 142 additional points into mana. Those points when boosted with battle orders will be greater than if using a Monarch for the additional +1 to all skills, but in that case would also have less into mana to be able to boost up, especially considering all of the gear increasing her maximum mana to truly make her a tanky build. This is why I decided to go with a tower shield over a monarch, especially because using a monarch is a complete waste, as I only need 3 sockets for the Runeward Dream, so allocating extra points into strength to be able to use the monarch would be overkill with this build. In the inventory is the cube, torch, Annie, and all the skillers are lightning skillers with life, and the small charms are all mana with either life or resistances. However, you can add the Crack of the Heavens Thunder charm to ensure that nothing you fight is going to be lightning immune, and with using energy shield, her negative lightning resistance will have no effect on the build so long as you keep her energy shield active. For the additional stats, she has 258% regenerate mana, 7% life leech, 70% increased attack speed, 70% faster hit recovery, plus 86% to fire skill damage, and plus 458% to lightning skill damage. Just to address it, the stat that most Sorceress players are not seeing with this build is her faster cast rate, which for this specific build is only going to be shown when on switch, and that's only 20% FCR. This build is not centered around being a fast teleporting Sorceress as many are accustomed to, but rather a tanky and high damage dealing Zealot Sorceress. For the Mercenary, he's the Act 2 Holy Freeze Mercenary, as using a Might Mercenary with this build's primary damage output being elemental over physical wouldn't be much use here. But he's using Undaro's Visage socketed with a Ral rune, Treachery for the body armor to help with his own survivability and increase attack speed, and the weapon is Infinity for the Conviction Aura to help our lightning damage go even further. Now that we've discussed the attributes, the skill trees, the gear for my character and my Mercenary, let's go ahead and check out this build in action to see how well it actually plays out. With the gameplay, for anyone who'd be curious as to which player settings I'm using for my build guides, the past, presently on screen, and in the future, down in the bottom left corner is what the example gameplay being shown is currently at. One of the things that I enjoyed about this build was with what many players consider the Sorceress being a very fragile character, this build helps to have several different safeguards available to help aid in her survivability. First is that she's using Energy Shield, so her resistances needing to be really high isn't something that's needing priority. However, if for whatever reason Energy Shield wears off, or she somehow loses all of her mana and it becomes inactive, her resistances without a Sunder Charm are all nearly at 60, so she is still kept safe just in case. Also, once Battle Orders is used, her health gets close to 2,000 while her mana is above 3,000. With her mana regeneration being very high, she constantly has it being refilled and maintained to keep Energy Shield active. Additionally, when enemies do land a hit on her, there's 2 sources of Confuse proc to help enemies start attacking each other, allowing for minor crowd control, and if all else fails, she can still teleport away. So for a character that many see as more fragile than the rest, she has a lot going for her with this build to help ensure great survivability. With this build, do remember that she still has the ability to teleport. However, with her faster cast rate not being prioritized over increased attack speed, will help with making her teleporting more tolerable. Being I play a lot of melee builds that use teleport, once she is buffed up, just keep teleport on the right click on switch. That way you can just switch over, teleport where needed, and then switch back and keep static field on your right click on your main hand. Cast before attacking, and everything should still work smoothly. As great as this build was to play, it does have a few notable drawbacks. If you are using static field right after teleporting, just remember that you're always going to be racing your Holy Shock pulse damage for what causes damage first. What I mean by this is, if your Holy Shock pulse damage causes damage before you cast your static field, you may end up not lowering the health of anything affected with using static field after, because on our main hand, her FCR is 0. It creates an importance to have static field used first, even with minimal monsters present, as if you actually do cast static field first, you would lower the health of the enemies, then Holy Shock's pulse damage would then drop it even further. So it's important to make sure that you cast static field first, before the pulse damage from Holy Shock would take effect. That way you actually get the benefit of using static field. Additionally, her teleport speed may be troubling for most players. However, as I mentioned earlier, I played melee builds that have teleport and almost no FCR. so I'm personally used to how her FCR feels when on switch for using lidless with only 20%. However, because it is so low, something that could help with her movement speed would be pre-buffing with Hustle for the burst of speed proc. This would allow her to not only attack faster, but to walk and run faster as well. And in some cases, her running may be preferable over her teleport. Lastly, for those wanting to farm areas that have lightning immunes, such as farming Mephisto in the Durance of Hate level 3, and additionally taking out the council members, or going after the Cow King, a Thunder Charm wouldn't be needed, but would be ideal to help make her clear speed that much better. But in using the Crack of the Heavens Thunder Charm, we'll drop her lightning resistance into the red. It's important to make sure that her energy shield stays up and active to ensure her survivability is high. Otherwise, she would become an easy target for anything that deals lightning damage. Make sure to not make my rookie mistakes and forget to use energy shield at times, or don't realize that it wore off and become a sitting duck. I enjoyed this build a lot. It was fun to take one of the strongest caster characters and make her a very formidable melee build that checks most of the boxes that players would look for with this playstyle. If this build was something that you enjoyed, make sure to check out my build guide playlist with several other off-meta builds that I'm sure you'll enjoy as well. And there's also many other traditional builds of all the characters for those wanting something more ideal and fitting with the character's specialties. The build guide playlist will be linked in the card in the top right corner, as well as in the video description down below. And that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to see if this build would be something that you would be interested in going into the future. And if anything, at least just enjoyed the video. If you like this kind of content, want to see more, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out.
Come on. Come on. Come on then. There you are. There you are.
And if you like this video, please let me know by leaving a like. It really is appreciated to be able to help my channel to grow. And if you want to see more of my Diablo 2 Resurrected content, make sure to click the card in the corner up above to check out my Diablo 2 Resurrected playlist with a lot of videos already in it, with a lot more coming in the very near future. Other than that, I hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.